Welcome back to Our Community. Susie Thomas visiting with folks from Minerva Christian School. We've got Zach Long and Beverly Kennedy. Beverly, the superintendent. What is the correct term? That you're the...
My official title is administrator.
The administrator, which is...
But the do-everything person.
Yes. Chief cook and bottle washer at Minerva Christian School.
It's more true than you know.
Yes, and Zach Long, who now is youth pastor?
Yes, youth director.
Youth director at the church, and it is what church?
Minerva First Christian.
Which is where Minerva Christian School is.
Right.
Zach, I can't wait to hear your story. Tell me a little bit about what you remember as far as being just a little guy in the preschool at Minerva Christian School.
I always have good memories of that. Not too many. Can't remember a whole lot.
Yeah, you've been 3.
But it was always a good time. I can remember having good teachers and always learning good things about the Lord. So.
Now, your family evidently decided this was really important to keep you there. As you progressed from year to year and your classes became smaller and smaller, what was it that made you continue to, I'm going to guess, love it?
Oh, yeah. My experience at Max was wonderful. And my parents were always willing to continue sending me there because, like you said, it was a priority. And like Mrs. Kennedy said a little earlier about how in 1998 we moved from a preschool and also moved on to a kindergarten. They did that on and on for years. They go, okay, do you want to do a first grade? Yes, let's do that. You want to do a second grade? Yes, let's do that.
Were they conferring with you? Zach, was it your class?
No, it was more the parents.
Okay.
Yeah. Yes, it was that class.
But it was your class
right.
deciding whether or not to go ahead.
Right. And they would come, or the administrator would come and say, listen, do you guys want to do this? And if you're willing, let's do it. And my parents were always the first ones to say, absolutely, we want to do it. And they did it all the way up to high school.
Were they constantly hiring somebody new then to take that next grade?
A lot of times they would use the same teachers, or they would have to hire someone on. Or they would just say, hey, you also have, for example, 4th and 5th grade, not just 4th grade anymore. So they would add 2 grades onto a teacher.
Did you change classes? Did you do
Yeah.
changing of classes
Yes.
for different subject matter?
Almost every year I had a different teacher.
Yeah. Okay. So. And then, and I'm thinking once you got up into the higher grades, you went somewhere for science, somewhere for language arts, and so forth?
That was more when we had our online school.
Tell me about that.
And well, right now, Mrs. Kennedy can tell you more about what we have now.
Okay.
I did a different type of education. So, do you want to tell them about Bob Jones?
Well, what we did was when Zach was there, we had a online schooling it was TRECA, which was
I'm familiar with it.
Right, a form of online schooling, and we were just housing those students. But like I said, we took a look at that curriculum and some of that, and we said we want to line this up with our mission and vision. And then we discovered that our own Christian publishers publish not just books, but they have online courses that you can take that match that. So we've switched just this year to using all of our own publishers for the online classes. This also created a seamless transition for our students going into those grades. So now they have the consistency of the same kinds of textbooks.
So the students are coming to the school and taking online classes together from the school. They're not staying at home and taking online classes, correct?
Right.
Okay, so they are getting the best of both worlds. You're there with your other classmates. You've got the socialization, and you've got your friends and so forth. But also, you are learning together. There's a lot of synergy that takes place when people learn together in a classroom. But then they're getting the actual content and material through the online. If I'm understanding this correctly.
Right, and there are teachers there to help if they have a question. I'm often helping the math students when they need it.
This is just a really neat way to do things. Yeah, they're nodding. That's what you heard there. Zach, tell me a little bit about your experience then.
It was, like I said, it was phenomenal all the way through. And really, when I was little, I mean, growing up, going to Minerva Area Christian School, I always knew it as home, and I always wanted to be there because that's what I knew. But as I got older, I really started to appreciate that all of these relationships with teachers or an administrator, that were strong Christian influences that I wouldn't have going somewhere else, say a public school.
And as a child, that was important to you?
Yes. Yes. Like I said, as I got more into high school or middle school, I began to realize how important that really was.
Became more and more important.
Mm-hmm.
I wrote down before you said it the word relationships and mentorship. I'm sure that when you get to go to a small school like that, you just have the best relationships with your teachers, and they become mentors. Talk about that relationship a bit.
Well, one example is, which is kind of interesting, is our fourth grade teacher was actually my fourth grade teacher, and now she's a sponsor for my youth group.
Oh, wow.
And so
Wow.
that's actually a really neat thing to have. And just so that relationship that I formed with her, 10, 12 years ago, is now still there. And I still look up to her, and she's a great sponsor for our youth and our church.
And now she's looking up to you.
Well, I guess.
That's very cool. Are there still many teachers there that were there during your time?
A few. Mm-hmm. Some have moved on, but there are still a lot there.
So you went where to college?
Malone University.
And studied?
Youth ministry.
And then you decided, well, I need a job, so I think I'll go.
Yeah, I was still
Back
looking for
home.
a job, and I did go home. So
Yes. Very, very cool. All right. Tell me a little bit about what you're doing now.
I'm the youth director at First Christian Church in Minerva, and I handle the kids all the way from preschool through college age. And we have a lot of really good youth programs there. So if anybody that's listening that's in the Minerva area, we have a program on Sunday mornings during our normal service at 9 a.m. called 365. And it's geared toward kids that are from kindergarten through sixth grade. It's higher energy worship. There's communion every week. There's small groups. There's games. And it's the gospel geared toward those kids, told to them on their level. Then we also have a youth group that's called 24/7, and that's for 6th through 12th grade that meets Sunday nights at 6 o'clock. And that's for teens to really understand what is God called them to do and to grab onto that, and that it's focused on Christ and to see all that he's done for them and all that he has planned for them.
I get a sense that you've really had a calling on your life from a very early age to be doing exactly what you're doing. How are you putting what you gained from your experience into the experience you're passing on now to this next generation?
I mean, it's an awesome privilege just to be called to ministry, first of all. And the fact that I know so much of what God has done for me through his son and calling me to this. And I just want teens and young people to understand that this is real. This really is a real thing, and this is something that that they can depend on their whole life. This isn't just fantasy. It really is true.
Do many of the young people that you work with also attend the school?
Lots of them do, actually. And what's really good is that during the day at Max, I mean, like I'm the one who teaches chapel for them each week.
Perfect, yeah.
And that's awesome in general. But also, during the day, I'm able to go downstairs and eat lunch with them and talk with them, interact with the kids, and invite them to different events and see how they're doing and talk to them with whatever they're going through. And that's a privilege, too.
Well, and I bet they would feel such a kinship towards you. You've been in their seat, literally, and now you're still there, and you're there to help them along.
Absolutely.
Tell me about a chapel service. What takes place at chapel?
They come in, and we usually sit them down, and we have a worship time. So we'll go through and we'll sing usually it's a contemporary song, or sometimes Mr. Kennedy, which is Bev's husband, obviously, will have the kids that are in the guitar lessons do that for us.
Oh, neat.
Yeah, and that's actually a really cool thing that they do. And then usually I'll have a lesson that's tried to be applicable to their life. So,
what do you see going on with children in their spiritual development from the little age on through high school, and you're even working with college-age students? What are you seeing that this generation is wrestling with?
Oh, the number one thing I think is that they don't know that they're valued. A lot of kids don't realize how truly valuable that God sees them as, is that they are so valuable and so loved that he would send their son to die for them, and they don't realize that. And a lot of times with name calling and whatnot, they think that, I'm worthless. But that's the exact opposite message that we want to send to them at Minerva Area Christian School, is that they are loved.
Is there anything going on in our culture that you can pinpoint that would do that? That why that would be such an issue right now? I mean, this is a generation that has documented visually with selfies and what have you more than any other time in history. I heard the funniest thing. Look at something we have pictures of my great-grandparents. We have a photo of my great-grandparents. Years from now, somebody would be able to say, would you like to see 3,000 pictures of my great-grandmother? And you could produce that.
Yeah.
It's all up there in the cloud. How can this generation that is so everything to them, everything is about them and photos of them doing every possible thing every time they sneeze, how can they not realize that they're valued?
Right. Well, I think that's actually part of the problem, is that we are constantly saying, me, 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 instead of Jesus, Jesus, Jesus. And that's the key, is that we want to point them and say, listen, this life is never about us or about you. It's always about him.
I remember telling my kids as they were growing up, we're always happiest when we're not thinking about ourselves. Do you find that service works into this at all?
Oh, yeah, for sure. And the more that kids can see that when they serve others, that they're also serving God. And when they have a good attitude towards their teachers or towards whoever it might be, or their parents, then they're actually having an attitude toward God, and it's more godly.
Do you give the students that you work with, and Beverly, I'll throw this back to both of you, in what ways are the children that attend Minerva Area Christian or the children that you work with, Zach, how do they give back to the community, serve others, serve God by serving others?
Well, when we have special events, the students at Max are the first ones that want to serve. We had a pasta dinner not long ago, and they just love to bring people in and greet them and seat them and bring them their food and do whatever they can. They're young, and so they might not be able to do things that adults do, but if you give them opportunities, even the preschoolers, they'll wait on you if you ask them to, and they love it when you have that big smile and you say, "Oh, thank you for helping me," and they just want to do it more and more.
Oh, that age is just the best, because they really do, don't they? They are passionate about helping. Yes. How about you, Zach? Are they given ways to serve?
Yes. Actually, just a couple weeks ago on Good Friday, we had an event for our teens called Crosswalk, and it was a thing where we would literally take the cross and walk through Minerva with it. And we had a lot of Max students show up for that as well.
Wow.
And we walked 8.5 miles that day. And just to make people aware of what that day really was about. And that it is Good Friday now because we can see what happened on Sunday.
Right.
But just for them to experience that and to realize, this is what Jesus did for us. So
It had to be a very meaningful experience. All right, what is the best way? We are out of time. How can people reach you?
Okay. Well, I guess the best way would be by telephone.
Okay.
And so the phone number from Minerva Area Christian School is 330-868-5728.
Give that one more time, please.
330-868-5728.
Sounds like a wonderful experience. Beverly Kennedy, Zach Long from Minerva Area Christian School, thank you so much for what you're doing in our community.
Thank you.
thank you.